I mean this in the nicest way possible. Embrace your inner child. This is I Mean This in the Nicest Way Possible, and I'm your host, Ram. Okay, so before anyone rolls their eyes, this isn't about refusing to grow up or being immature. And it's definitely not about pretending adulthood isn't real. Bills are real. Responsibilities are real. Overthinking tax deductions is real. Instead, this is about remembering the version of you who loved things before life weighed you down, before the pressure, before the burnout, before the world said being colorful, playful, or imaginative wasn't serious enough. Here's what I mean. Your inner child shaped your creativity and your sense of magic. That part of you was your first artist, your first dreamer, your first storyteller. And somewhere along the way, adult responsibilities muted that whimsical little voice inside you. We got busy, we got responsible, and we forgot how to play. But here's the truth I've had to relearn. Thinking like a kid sometimes actually helps you heal like an adult. And this is personal for me, because I am a big kid at heart. I still love video games, Sailor Moon, Pokémon, Tamagotchi. I buy toys and old electronics I used to have as a kid. I literally just bought a Sony Psych a few months ago, and the way that thing sparked joy inside of me, like no adult logic was involved in that purchase whatsoever. And that's exactly the point, because that younger version of me would have absolutely lost his shit. And let's talk about a core I've recently started embracing called whimsical. Okay, I might have literally made that word up, but honestly, maybe it should exist. Because for me, whimsical isn't just nostalgia. It's a personal aesthetic rebellion. You can see the shift everywhere. Even brands that used to feel playful or iconic are suddenly going full corporate minimalism. Remember when McDonald's looked like a playground, but now it looks like a tax office? Even the aesthetics of childhood fun have gotten exhausted. And I think we're all craving something more alive than matte gray adulthood. Whimsical is color, nostalgia, sparkle, childhood joy on purpose, in a world that loves neutral beige and minimalism and pretending that muted anxiety is an aesthetic. The reason whimsical feels so necessary to me is because it's one of the few things that makes the world feel magical again. I don't think playfulness should be something we grow out of. I think it's something adulthood tries to take from us, and some of us are just brave enough to take it back. And when I say take it back, I mean that literally. Because last year, I fulfilled a huge childhood dream. Ever since I can remember, I wanted to be a Power Ranger. And I don't mean the spirit Halloween, here's a thin plastic mask and a jumpsuit that barely fits. I mean a real Power Ranger, the costume you'd see on the actual show. I wasn't that kid who was satisfied with the budget version. I wanted the real one. So last year, I finally said fuck it, and I became the Red Ranger for Halloween. And listen, this wasn't cosplay. This was childhood restitution. Because here's the part that still lives in my body. When I was a kid, I had a Power Ranger Morpher toy that I cherished more than maybe any toy I ever owned. And one day, my mom had a friend over, and she brought her kids, and we played, and then suddenly that Morpher went home with them. And it wasn't replaceable. It was sold out. And I was devastated. I remember that sinking feeling like something valuable was taken from me, and there was nothing I could do about it. And that wound actually stuck with me for years quietly. So last year when I put that costume on, I also bought a replica Morpher. Hasbro ironically reproduced an exact copy of the one I had as a kid. And getting it was emotional justice. It genuinely felt therapeutic to return stolen property back to my childhood self. It almost felt cosmic, like younger me finally got the closure he deserved. And I know that might sound dramatic, but sometimes giving your younger self what they needed feels like rewriting history in the most healing way. And that's what this episode is really about. Using your inner child and the joy you used to feel to give back to yourself now, to live lighter, to romanticize your own life again. Because in today's culture, where monochromatic muted colors of doom are suddenly considered personality, and everyone's dressing like a corporate skeleton, someone has to bring back color and whimsy and the spirit every single one of us felt before the weight of the world jaded us. Now, I'm not pretending this is some official psychological method or anything. I just know what it feels like in my own life. I know how different my soul feels when I'm actually letting myself play again. It's emotionally relieving. It's creatively inspiring. And honestly, joy doesn't need a clinical label to count. It just needs permission. By the end of today's episode, you'll understand why inner child joy can be emotionally healing, how nostalgia nurtures emotional resilience, why play restores creativity, why reclaiming childhood desires builds confidence, and how embracing color and whimsy helps undo adult cynicism. So let's talk about what we actually mean when we say inner child. Because a lot of people think it's just a cute self-care phrase. But no, there's a very real psychological concept behind it. Originally introduced through ideas from psychologist Carl Jung, and later developed in childhood development and trauma-informed work. Here's the simplest way I can frame it. Your inner child isn't a childish personality. It's the part of you that still remembers your original emotional blueprint. It remembers joy. It remembers fear. It remembers what delighted you. And it also remembers what hurt. Therapists have used ideas like inner child work, inner child healing, and play therapy for decades in different therapeutic approaches. But what's fascinating is that emotional memories from childhood don't just disappear because we turn 18. They live in the subconscious and inside our nervous system, something trauma researchers like Dr. Vessel van der Kolk have often discussed. Which means childhood experiences still influence adult reactions. Childhood wounds still influence adult relationships. And childhood joy still influences adult creativity. And here's the part I love. Those early joys and imaginative moments are actually emotional resources we can still access. Your imagination didn't die just because you bought car insurance. Your wonder didn't expire because you learned how to cook quinoa. Those parts are still there. They just haven't been invited out to play in a long time. There's a reason inner child work shows up in trauma-informed therapy and also in somatic approaches and nervous system work. Because childhood isn't just a phase of life. It's a foundational emotional imprint. If you were nurtured, that imprint helped you feel safe. If you were ignored or rejected, that imprint might still be running the show today. But here's the twist most adults miss. Your inner child isn't only the hurt part of you. It's also the playful part, the imaginative part, the fearless part. The version of you that believed in magic automatically before anyone told you it was unrealistic or childish. So when we talk about embracing your inner child, what we're really doing is inviting back the emotional qualities most adults are starving for. Curiosity, imagination, joy, wonder, possibility. And ironically, those are the exact qualities we admire in children, but shame adults for having. Children are allowed to be excited, and adults get called cringe. But actually, the stuff we label cringe is usually just joy without apology. And if we want to be scientific for a second, play is something child development experts often use as a way to help kids process emotions. Meaning, play isn't childish, it's literally emotionally intelligent. Which is wild when you step back and think about it. Because the thing most adults make fun of or suppress or feel embarrassed about might actually be one of the most healing emotional resources we have access to. Here's the part that really blew my mind when I started digging into this. Reconnecting with child energy actually has real emotional benefits. It's not just nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. It can genuinely shift the emotional state you're in. Let's start with imagination. When you were a kid, imagination wasn't something you scheduled. It was automatic. Your brain used wonder as a natural problem-solving tool. As adults, that imagination becomes creativity. And when we stop playing, that part of us atrophies. We become practical, responsible, productive, but sometimes numb. Play unlocks creative thinking because your brain stops filtering everything through logic and returns to possibility, which is where inspiration lives. A lot of therapists talk about play as a really emotionally honest form of expression. And then there's nostalgia. Nostalgia isn't just remembering something cute from childhood. It literally activates positive emotional pathways. Psychologists who study nostalgia, including Dr. Konstantin Sedikaitis, talk about nostalgia helping people feel more connected, comforted, and emotionally grounded. Which makes sense, because nostalgia connects us with a moment where joy felt pure, not conditional. And emotionally, here's what I notice in myself. When I play with my inner child, I feel lighter, more open, less guarded. My nervous system settles down. It's like my body remembers happiness without effort. There's a softness that returns, a delight, a little spark that doesn't ask to be productive. It just wants to exist. And adults desperately need that because life gets heavy, responsibilities stack, bills exist, anxiety creeps in, burnout becomes a personality. So many of us are running on survival mode, and play interrupts that pattern. It reminds your nervous system what safety feels like, what wonder feels like, what ease feels like. So yes, inner child play can absolutely increase creativity and emotional resilience. Not because we're trying to go backwards, but because we're remembering a part of ourselves that adulthood asked us to abandon too early. Culturally, we've already seen inner child expression everywhere. Katy Perry literally built an entire pop era around candy-colored fantasy. And think about kawaii culture. It isn't cute for cute's sake. It's emotional technology. It uses color and softness to counteract pressure, adulthood, and cynicism. That's inner child work in fashion form. And then there's Kendall Jenner, who publicly talked about putting a photo of her younger self on the bathroom mirror. So anytime she's being critical or self-judging, she's reminded that she's actually speaking to that little girl. I love that visual. It makes inner child compassion feel chic, modern, and totally accessible, without sounding clinical or heavy. It turns emotional healing into a daily ritual, not a therapy session. And of course, we're seeing whimsical rising as a full aesthetic rebellion against monochrome adulting. It's playful fashion as resistance. It's healing through color. It's literally grown-ups choosing joy, which sounds silly until you realize adults spend most of their life trying not to feel silly. Sometimes joy is the rebellion. Let me bring this back into real lived experience for a second. I've noticed something interesting when people hit burnout. They tend to rediscover hobbies they loved when they were little. Painting, video games, coloring books, scrapbooking. Things that made zero practical sense, but made total emotional sense. Because when life feels overwhelming, the nervous system pulls us towards where we once felt safe. Sometimes the most adult thing you can do is go play. And honestly, I've done that myself without even realizing the psychology behind it. When I started recreating Y2K celebrity looks back in 2023, it wasn't about nostalgia content. It was literally child me getting something he never got. Whenever I would put on those outfits, I felt this rush of excitement I remembered from childhood. It felt like I was time traveling. And for a while, I didn't know why that felt so healing. But looking back, it makes perfect sense now. And then there's the Power Ranger moment. Dressing up wasn't cosplay for me. It was a full circle emotional event. It was decades of I wish I could, turning into I finally did. Buying that replica morpher wasn't just a costume accessory. It was reparations. It was returning stolen joy. And the wild part is, that tiny act of reclaiming something silly made me feel surprisingly grounded and proud. Because sometimes healing isn't dramatic. Sometimes it's a toy. Sometimes it's a color. Sometimes it's doing something grown you never allowed because it felt childish. Sometimes the fix is letting little you win one. Here's the cool thing. Therapists and mental health researchers have been saying for decades that your childhood self doesn't disappear just because you grew up. In the mental health world, people often describe the inner child as the part of you that carries early memories, early feelings, and the needs you learned to push aside when you were little. Some therapists describe the inner child as a younger part of you that still holds on to things you never received, feelings you weren't allowed to express, or experiences that ended before you were ready. When you reconnect with that part of yourself in a compassionate way, a lot of mental health professionals say it can help people feel calmer, more emotionally regulated, and more grounded, especially if childhood was confusing, lonely, or complicated. People who study child development will say that play isn't just a break from adulthood. It's a psychological process. It's how kids build confidence, imagination, resilience, and identity. So honestly, those muscles don't just disappear because we got older and started paying bills. What some trauma specialists call reparenting is basically learning to give yourself the nurturing, the patience, the fun, and the validation you might not have gotten when you needed it. It's talking to yourself the way you wish someone talked to you back then. It's choosing joy over judgment. And it's understanding that healing doesn't always look like therapy sessions. Sometimes it looks like glitter eyeliner, Sailor Moon marathons, Sanrio toys, Pokémon cards, or whatever your younger self adored. Because the child version of you doesn't go away. They just wait for an invitation back into your life. And real talk. Because while this episode is fun and playful and cute, there's a darker side to this if we don't embrace our inner kid. When people suppress the younger, softer, more imaginative version of themselves for too long, something inside them starts to dull. Life becomes a checklist instead of a story. You start existing instead of living. And that's honestly one of the saddest forms of adulthood. When we shut down that younger part of ourselves, a few things can happen. You disconnect from joy. You stop feeling the little sparks that used to make your heart light up. You buy what feels safe and grown up, but deep down you miss colors that you used to love. Cynicism becomes a personality trait. You tell yourself things like, that's childish, or I'm too old for that, or I don't have time. But what you're really saying is, I don't feel safe expressing joy anymore. Your creativity goes flat. A lot of burnout has less to do with working hard and more to do with never balancing seriousness with play. Creativity literally needs silliness. It needs imagination. It needs rest from adult life logic. You become emotionally numb. Sometimes adulthood teaches us to shut down emotions just to survive. Childhood joy becomes the price we pay for being responsible, and that leaves so many people feeling empty. We mistake maturity for shutting down. We start confusing emotional shutdown with growth. We think being pragmatic and serious makes us more accomplished, when actually we're slowly becoming less ourselves. So embracing your inner child isn't just fun, it's protective. It keeps your spirit alive. It keeps you connected to wonder. And wonder is honestly what makes adulthood bearable. One of the best things I ever did for myself was consciously decide to start collecting pieces of my childhood. And I don't mean collectibles that sit on a shelf untouched. I mean things that actually light me up on a soul level. I have nostalgia objects in my home that mean something. Toys, video games, Y2K electronics, things I used to worship in magazines or stores when I was young and couldn't afford them. And now, adult me literally gets to buy them. That's a full circle blessing. And listen, whimsy is a lifestyle for me now. The colors I wear aren't random. They're curated little love letters to my younger self. My wardrobe is basically the adult version of the sticker books I hoarded in elementary school. Every look is playful, intentional, expressive, and sometimes mildly ridiculous. And that's exactly the point. And yes, we're circling back to the Power Ranger thing, because that wasn't just a costume. That was closure. That was emotional restitution. That was me saying, child me deserved this joy, and adult me has the power to give it to him. That Power Morpher replica wasn't a prop. It was recovery. And the best part, doing that kind of inner child reparations work unlocked other forms of creativity for me. Suddenly, fashion wasn't just a style. It became play. It became story. It became a reminder that dressing yourself is still allowed to be fun. So when people ask me why I collect weird little objects or wear such colorful clothes, the answer is simple. Because younger me didn't get all of this, and grown me refuses to leave him behind. Something kind of magical happens when you intentionally let yourself do things you weren't allowed to do growing up. Like wearing the colors your family thought were too loud, or buying the toys you begged for but never got, or choosing a video game over whatever boring adult task you should be doing. For me, wearing certain outfits is a form of play. It's cosplay. It's self-love. It's time travel. It's me saying, hey little guy, remember when you wanted to wear this? Well, we're doing it now, and no one can take it away from us. And buying things I couldn't afford as a kid? Oh my God, that hits a totally different emotional nerve. Anytime I give myself something younger me dreamed about, I feel this weird mix of joy and healing at the same time. It's like I'm time traveling and giving that kid a hug through objects. Even romanticizing the boring parts of life has become fun. Going to the grocery store? It's a side quest. Doing errands? I soundtrack them like a video game. I literally create a little sense of magic out of nothing, and that's the fun of it. And that's the part we forget. Play isn't childish, it's emotional oxygen. And sometimes the most grown-up thing you can do is let yourself play again. Here's what I've slowly realized. Your inner child isn't just a nostalgic idea. It's actually an emotional muscle. The more you engage it, the stronger your emotional resilience becomes. Play is not random. Play is recovery. Every time you let yourself be curious or creative or playful, you're actually giving your nervous system a break from constantly performing adulthood. And creativity, that's literally the language of your inner child. When I'm being playful, I'm not just having fun. I'm actually rebuilding parts of myself that got shut down along the way. There's a confidence that comes from honoring the things younger you adored. It's like, oh, I'm allowed to be this version of myself. And nostalgia is not escapism. Nostalgia is emotional self-care. It lets your body remember joy. It reminds your brain what excitement feels like. And honestly, sometimes remembering joy is healing. Now listen, before I get into the actual weekly challenge, I want to give you a little starter pack of ideas you can literally try this week. And none of these are deep or complicated. Think of them as tiny invitations. Try building a tiny nostalgia altar somewhere in your home. One shelf, one corner, one desk spot where you keep something that makes your younger you smile. Mine is personally my office desk. Or buy one childhood item. And I mean anything. A toy, a DVD, a Sailor Moon keychain, a lunchbox, a Tamagotchi. Whatever tiny thing sparks joy. Wear one pop of color this week, even if it's just socks or a hair clip. Play one video game you used to love. Or watch one cartoon episode. Or return something to your younger self. That could be a candy, an accessory, a VHS tape, a CD, a little wearable item, an iPod. The more specific it feels, the better. Again, this isn't about becoming a child. This is about giving younger you something they have always wanted, or something they weren't allowed to have, and letting that joy still belong to you now. So for this week's challenge, we're doing something I'm officially calling the Whimsical Challenge. And this is literally your excuse to do one tiny thing that feels whimsical, nostalgic, colorful, or just plain fun. It could be wearing something playful, adding a sticker to your laptop, ordering a silly dessert, watching a childhood show, buying a nostalgic snack, or decorating one corner of your space in a way that would absolutely delight your inner kid. Whatever feels like delight to younger you, do that. And if you want to take it further and make it even more fun, post whatever you did and tag me so I can see everyone's whimsicore moment this week. Not required, but extremely adorable. Here's what I want you to take with you today. Growing up doesn't mean growing out of joy. Being an adult shouldn't cancel out color or play or magic. And honestly, the bills, the responsibility, the stress, that stuff shows up on its own. But joy, wonder, play, sometimes we have to go get it. Your inner child didn't disappear the moment you got older. They've just been waiting for permission to be invited back in. And sometimes all it takes is something tiny, like a Go-Gurt out of the fridge, or Capri Sun after errands, or a Lizzie McGuire t-shirt that absolutely no one asked for, and yet everybody secretly respects. The other day, I literally ate a pizza Lunchable and felt like I was in 5th grade again. And there's something kind of beautiful about the fact that we can feed our adult bodies and our childhood spirits at the exact same time. Because here's the truth. Your younger self went through enough. They deserve some fun now. They deserve color. They deserve delight. And honestly, so do you. Because sometimes the kindest thing you can do is be real. Real about what you lost. Real about what you loved. And real about everything younger you always deserved. I'm Ram, and thanks for getting real with me today. You just finished listening to I Mean This in the Nicest Way Possible, written and produced by Richard Armand Mills.